the Auburn Blitz Podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz Podcast. Gonna record this one, so we're not live, so you got to try to comment, and we're not acting like we're responding to you. Don't get pissed off because we're recording. So we're glad that you're still watching with us, but we're not live with you. You can comment on the podcast. I mean, YouTube and Facebook. We're just not going to be able to respond to you immediately. Doesn't mean that we can't come back. But then anyway, we're glad that you're going to watch us whenever it is that you're going to tune us in. Isn't that right, Faith? Good to see you. New hairdo. Got to give some props here.
Yes.
It's almost as long as mine.
Yes, got some new locks and some fresh color. Just had to brighten it up for
refresh.
spring.
Get that refresh. Hey, look, spring fever. Next week, spring break. I mean, everybody just, man, you get a little taste, and then the dang temperature dropped out again today to kind of remind everybody it's still semi-winter, I guess.
Yeah, the wind was whipping today. It kept me in check, but
Yep. That's
should be getting nicer, I hope.
Yeah, that stupid ground, right? He was right. 6 weeks of winter, so we're getting close. Hopefully, we'll turn the corner and everybody have a good spring break. We're looking forward to it. We just watched the Alabama game, and Florida just continues to cruise. They put 9 up on Alabama tonight. So Alabama, yeah, I mean, you and I talked about it this morning. I thought that was a 1 seed elimination game, and I'm not sure Florida's even. Tennessee's playing Ole Miss right now. They're up, but seems like, and now talk about these brackets, some of these mock brackets, but it seems like they like Tennessee a lot. And if Tennessee wins tonight and they close out with South Carolina, they may lock up a 1 seed. We'll go through that here in a little bit. But Florida sure is making their case, Faith. I think you and I feel like they may be the best team in the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, watching them play, or we just watched them play, they look so good. They look energetic. Nobody looks slow moving up and down the court. And they look pumped up and they look ready to win. And I can confirm that our game yesterday, I guess for y'all it'll be 2 days ago,
right?
On Tuesday, we don't look like that at all. We don't look pumped up. We don't look ready to play.
Well, I'm hoping that's just mainly a hangover from the celebration on Saturday, and then really not practicing on Sunday, and then having that one day to get out to Texas A&M, which was already a crazy matchup for us historically. So I'm hoping that's what I'm hoping. I keep telling myself that's what it is, but I am still concerned about Janai Broome, Faith. I am.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be honest. Am I warranted in that? Should I be worried about it?
I don't think he's played the same since his initial ankle injury. And I think that's where it's all kind of, obviously it stemmed from that. But if you're not ready to go back and play, and I think I will go ahead and fact check myself, but I remember saying, I really don't think they're going to put him in if he's not, 100, 110% or whatever. Because it was a few games where I guess we didn't really need him. And it was earlier in the season. I don't know what has happened, or if he went back too early or something, because there's just something not right with him. And there's not anything his execution is just not player of the year.
Well, I think he lost player of the year this week. I hate to say that. Now, I was impressed with his performance against Ole Miss, and then the game prior to that, who was it that we played prior to that he had a decent game? Let me go back and see it right off the top of my head. Georgia. I mean, he had 31 in that game. I mean, it was a silent 31, but we kind of ran the offense through him. But outside of that, I mean, he's been consistent. I thought that was to me, I thought he got healthy in Georgia and Ole Miss. I mean, when you look at the way we played against Ole Miss, we put 106 up. and Janai had 24. So he had 31 and 24, and it looked like he was rocketing toward the player of the year. It looked like he was securing that. And then we go to Kentucky. He scores, 9 against Kentucky? And we go, okay, well, we're able to win without our best player really putting up a great game. And we're all kind of saying Miles Kelly kind of carried the game for Auburn. And so we're like, okay, well, let's flip over to Texas A&M, and it's another really putrid effort. 4 of 9, 8 points. And so now we had a 31 and a 24, and now we've had a 9 and an 8. And so it's like, well, what happened? Because these are 2 of his worst games of the year. And that's not the time that you want to have 2 of your worst games of the year coming down the stretch. I thought he was the leading candidate for player of the year going into the week. And now I think he's a good step and a half behind Cooper Flagg. Now, if he comes back Saturday and puts another 30-point spot up, or even maybe 20 in a 12 to 14 rebound effort, now he's right back in the mix. But if he has another subpar day against Alabama or in this game, he had a good game the last time, but I'm saying if he has 3 subpar games in a row, it's probably over at that point.
And especially this late in the season too. You know what I mean? Timing's everything. Yeah.
I told you that a couple days ago, that you're remembered for what you have done lately in sports.
Oh yeah.
And again, last week he was putting up stupid numbers and looking like he was back healthy. I mean, you and I were in Birmingham during the Ole Miss game, and you and I were really impressed with how he was getting off the floor and his energy level. He looked like the old Janai. We were excited about that. And then, look, we were willing to give him a pass against Kentucky. Looked like Kentucky was trying to defend him, putting a couple of extra guys on him, making it tough. And, our guards made him pay, especially Miles. But then last night, I thought he had some opportunities, and it just was lethargic and sluggish. So,
well, and don't get me wrong too. Like, I know Texas A&M was doubling up on him, and they had 2 people on him at all times. But, well, it didn't seem like all the time. But that was, kind of a little bit.
He looked dead leg to me.
Yeah, that was some of people's arguments was, oh, well, 2 people were on him all the time, all that kind of stuff, and I was like, when is it normally just one person on Janai?
Well, let's look at it from this perspective. He only took 9 shots in 33 minutes of play. So he took 9 shots. He made 4 of them. He struggled in the first half again. But again, it just was a lethargic effort. And, I'm not saying – I think he's an unselfish player. And I'm not on here to criticize. Okay, let me just let me ask where we're going with this. I'm hoping we get Janai Broome back to a level heading into postseason, and it starts Saturday. We need him to be the player of the year candidate that we know he can be. And if he's that player, then let's be honest, he's the straw that stirs the drink for Auburn. I mean, we say this all the time. How many teams can play and win without their best player having a good night or not even playing at all? Not many. And Auburn's been able to do that throughout the year in a couple of areas, with him being out for a couple of games and then him not maybe playing his best, because we are deep. But I think when he plays well, man, it just changes the whole persona for the rest of our team.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It definitely affects, the performance. And again, we went without Denver Jones the other night, and
that was a big deal.
Obviously had a huge impact on the game and on the defensive side, because here's the thing, when you were talking about earlier, how Janai recently has not been as consistent, and Denver Jones in scoring points, he's not all that consistent. But what is consistent each and every game is his effort on defense. And I don't think I've ever seen him look or play lazy before.
I'm with you. I
And
mean, he's
I don't know if we
100.
can say that about Janai
Well,
recently.
look, and
And
again,
again, he still might be hurt, but that's the thing. It's like, why go back so early?
right. Well, I think
When
he's over that. I really think I think he's fine. I don't think that's.
then what do you think it is?
It's got to be effort. I mean, I just think sometimes it looks lethargic. I don't have an answer for it. And again, I don't know. I mean, he did injure his ankle, but you don't go score 31 and 24 and start jumping off the floor like he did against Ole Miss, and then come back and do what you did against Kentucky and Texas A&M. So there's something else. Now, again, the whole team looks sluggish against A&M. So I think we all need to kind of pump the brakes a little bit, and I'm talking to myself and you that I don't think the sky's falling. I just think that that was a trap game. That was a game that, look, the hay's in the barn for Auburn. They won the league, and Texas A&M had lost 4 in a row, and they needed to win way more than we did. Now, that doesn't excuse going out there and being lazy as hell, but we did. And so now Bruce Pearl called the team out in the press conference. He said the blueprint to beat us is go out there and punch us in the mouth and we'll just roll over. He's sending a message to that team. He's trying to say, hey, look, this is what teams are going to do now. That's the scouting report on Auburn. So you better get ready for it. You better learn how to play physical basketball like you've done throughout the year. We just saw Florida. Florida's they're very similar to us with an inside-outside game, but they hang their hat on physicality. And so they're kind of a Tennessee Auburnish combination. They can battle with all of us at what we do well, and they can kind of morph and change the way they play the game inside a game. And if the inside's not working, they got 3 or 4 guys that can shoot the eyeballs out outside. And if that's not working, they can go into Hall and Condon and those guys, and they can clean up the board. So they're just playing it. You said it just a minute ago. The energy level looks different with Florida than everybody else right now. It does.
Yeah. And again, too, when we were texting earlier during the game too with Alabama, we said this today, but they're going to come in with this losing streak that they're on, ready to beat Auburn in Neville Arena on senior night, have it be the biggest punch in the mouth for us to end the season. It's going to be little brother versus big brother and whatever. So it's going to be such a important game for, both.
Well, their back's against the wall for sure now. Alabama, I think they played their way out of a 1 seed, but they're on 2 line and they've got 7 losses. And they want nothing more than to go in and split after what we did to them earlier in the year. Or earlier in February. I mean, just this past month.
They're probably looking at it now thinking this is the best time to do it.
No doubt.
We've lost. We need to prove ourselves. Auburn just lost. We need to go in there and shut everybody up.
Guess who has been playing great since the Auburn loss has been Mark Sears. He had another 30-plus points again tonight. Now, Hayden Holloway contributed of a big old 3 points tonight. So again, we go back to to Hyde Pettiford. Hayden Holloway taught, and we got the better end of that deal, no doubt. But he's going to come in and he's going to get to the foul line and he's going to do some things. I'm hoping, here's the deal. Denver being healthy is going to be key for this team, because you go back and you look at this matchup, and that's what we're going to do here in just a second. We're going to go back and revisit the game back on February 15th, where Auburn went to Coleman Coliseum and won 94-85. But before we do that, we want to thank our sponsors. Sensorygreen, for air that is cool and clean. Call on Sensorygreen, the carrier experts. They are proud supporters of Auburn athletics and our Auburn Blitz podcast. Glad to have them part of our program. Scout Program Management, those guys are so cool, fun to be around, great organization, a full-service construction management firm that handles all your educational building needs from start to finish. So if you're renovating your school or if you're planning to build a new school, you need to call on Scout Program Management. Let them handle all of that. Bunkers, excited about Friday, Faith. You and I'll be over there. Jason Caldwell will be with us. Looking forward to that. I think I can go ahead and say that Malcolm Simmons is planning to be with us, the star-studded freshman from this past year. Plans to be at Bunkers with us. And looking forward to having Malcolm be part of the program and kind of give a little spring football preview. But we'll all be at Bunkers, so you need to be at Bunkers too on Friday. I know you're already excited about the possibility of the food that we're going to get to eat. So am I. I'm not going to lie. And then, then
everyone's going to think all I do is eat.
Well, you don't look like it, so don't worry about it. Enjoy the food because the food's great. And you know what? You get to take it and put it in a box and take it home with you like you did last time.
Oh, I'll be ordering them sliders. I'll tell you that right now. And I will be taking those. Actually, I ate them all there the last time. But
you did take something home. Was it the dip?
The dip and a piece of pizza, the one piece of pizza.
Yeah, we kind of.
And I ate it all that night too.
We kind of devoured the pizza, but we were.
It was so good.
I think we went in there on like a 2-day. I think we were both starving, so
I think we're fasting before it.
We are. We definitely are. We're going to fast. So there's some more of our partners. We'll get to some more here in just a minute. But yeah, want to remind everybody we'll be at Bunkers on Friday at noon. So we're excited about that. We love Bunkers. They're a great partner here with us on the Auburn Blitz podcast. All right, let's go back. Auburn in February the 15th. Went up there as the number 1 team in the country, playing the number 2 team. Crazy environment. Janai Broom had 19 and 14, played 33 minutes. That's what we need. You get that Janai Broom moving forward, Auburn's going to be a hard out against anybody. Denver Jones, what a great game. 31 minutes, had 16 points. Miles Kelly added 15. Chaney had 14. Chad Baker had 15. Todd Pettiford had 13. It was such a well spread out game for Auburn, and everybody contributing outside of really Dylan Cardwell. He only shot one time, and he got in foul trouble. He fouled out, but he had 2 points. He was 1 for 1. But the guards did a great job. Our inside game did a great job because Chaney and Chad Baker had 14 and 15, and then you had Janai with 19. This was a complete game. If Auburn plays like they did the first time they played Alabama, Faith, against anybody, against Florida, against whoever you want to throw out there, going to be a tough out in this tournament.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and just looking back at the stats and stuff for 3-point shots, they went 5 for 26.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
And, I mean, we went 12 for 30, which
was huge.
Yeah. But that defense around the arc again, because I remember each time we all were sitting there, Mark Sears went 2 for 11. When does he ever do that? No.
He doesn't, and he hasn't done it since.
Yeah, and Youngblood went 1 for 3. And I mean, our defense around the arc looked so good.
We kept pushing them further and further out. And if you'll remember, 3 of those 5 threes, Faith, came late in the game.
Yeah.
And 2 of them were way outside. So, again, sometimes you just tip your hat and say, you're going to shoot it from out there, and if you make it, congratulations. But you're right. I mean, you just hit the nail on the head. The perimeter defense for us was unbelievable. Just spot on.
I recall correctly tonight when Molly was interviewing him as he came off the court, he was like, we've got to get in the paint. And Nate Oates was saying how he was like, we've got to be making those 2-point shots because they weren't making them, I guess, as well as what he wanted them to. And so I feel like that's on Saturday also going to be a big thing if, you know, if it's not working for them outside the three arc, it's going to be, they're going to get inside and they're going to be shooting the twos that hopefully we're going to be able to like defend, but not if we're playing sloppy, lazy defense.
Alabama had happened to them tonight what we had happened to us last night. They got out rebounded 50-35.
Yeah.
You want to look at the stats for Auburn and Texas A&M. I ran through them this morning. I'm confusing everybody because it's supposed to be tomorrow morning. So I meant we're recording this, so you'll get it. The stats were in Auburn's favor. I mean, percentage-wise, 3 and 2-point. The difference was the rebounding. And they had more shot attempts, and they made more baskets. Now, listen to this. Florida and Alabama both shot 72 shots from the field. Alabama made 34, and Florida made 35. 9 of 25 from outside for Alabama. 8 of 27 for Florida. Okay, you're thinking, all right, Alabama, 17 of 25 from the free throw line. Florida, 21 of 29. Okay, pretty even there too. So Alabama had the edge on threes. Florida had the edge on free throws. They made the same amount or took the same amount of shots. Florida made one more field goal than Alabama. The difference, Faith, was the offensive rebounds and the second chance points, and that's why Alabama lost the game. It's exactly why Auburn lost. It's exactly why Auburn lost 83-72. You cannot give up 50 rebounds and against a good team. And so here's the challenge for both Auburn and Alabama Saturday. Who's going to win the boards? So let's go back to the Auburn and Alabama game back in February, and let's take a look at that. Now, I think if my memory serves me correctly, before I get to this thing, I want to say that maybe Alabama out-rebounded us a little bit.
They did. We had 40. They had 49.
But it was not to the point where it was just over the top. Now, if you'll remember, early in the game, Alabama had several of those offensive rebounds, and we were all frustrated, even though Auburn got off to such a great start.
We had 7 offensive rebounds, and they had 14.
So they doubled us up there. And here's the deal. Alabama couldn't hit shots. Now, defense was lights out, but you're playing with fire with Alabama if you let them double you up on the offensive glass, because 2 and 3, you were talking about both teams tonight tipping the ball around and keeping it active and keeping possessions alive. They're not going to just hit 5 threes. I'm just telling you that we're not going to be able to hold them to 5 made threes this time.
There's no shot. And they were really struggling with turnovers tonight too. And in the transition and stuff like that, which.
Let's see how many turnovers Alabama had in that game tonight. Pulling that up too. Let's see. Turnovers for Florida. Florida had 10. Alabama had, Florida turned the ball over. Alabama had 7. So almost even, but, it's but it was early. You remember, I think what you were alluding to is Alabama turned the ball over and
that's when Florida got on their hot streak.
Well, Jay Billis said they're turning it over at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Some unforced turnovers.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, because
right.
I mean, when we played them, they only had 7 and we had 4, but
it's gonna be key Saturday, Faith.
Yeah, it's gonna play a huge part in obviously also the the atmosphere in Neville Arena. I feel like
For
that's
sure.
going to play a huge part too.
No doubt. No doubt.
And I mean, obviously tonight it sounded like Coleman Coliseum was loud and active and everything like that, but that's just going to play, I think, a huge role in this senior night, last regular season game, all of that kind of stuff.
No doubt. I mean, a lot of emotion going to be in the building, and so how do you handle it is going to be the key. So look, I'm looking for Auburn to rebound. They're going to be good. I really feel like that. Just want to see Janai kind of get back to old form after 2 subpar games. According to standards and our standards within. We're excited the game. We're going to talk obviously more about that on Friday at Bunkers, because that's going to be a majority of what we talk about. We are going to talk about football on Friday too with Malcolm, and we'll probably talk a little baseball and softball with Jason. So we're excited to have both of them there. Let's look at some brackets real quick, Faith. And Andy Katz, does this every week. And as of right now, he's got Auburn as the 1 seed in the South. Look, whether we're the number 1 overall seed or whatever, Auburn's going to get that number 1 seed in the South, because Duke's going to get the East and we're going to get the South. And if Duke's the number 1 overall seed, it don't matter at that point. We just want to be in the South, because that runs through Lexington and it runs through Atlanta. And then you go, obviously, if you make it to San Antonio, the Final Four. But right now, in our bracket, if this were to play out tonight, Auburn, the 1 seed, would take on Southeast, either the winner of Southeast Missouri State or Bucknell. It's a play-in game, that 16 seed. And then round 2 would be the winner of Memphis, Utah State. And we've already played Memphis. We played Memphis out in at Maui, and won that game pretty easily. But you go back, and that's a decent 8-9 matchup. And then you were to move on from that side. I mean, you're looking at probably either Arizona or Clemson, as you move into the Sweet 16, which would be the second weekend in Atlanta. Now, how crazy would Auburn Clemson be in Atlanta in the Sweet 16?
That would be nuts.
So that's a possibility there. And then if you move on to the Elite 8, you're looking at, I'm going to say possibly the way he's got this, if you're looking at the 2 and the 3 seeds, you're looking at Michigan State or St. John's coming out of that bottom. So Auburn would play that Rick Pitino-led St. John's team or that Michigan State team, which we actually talked about Michigan State a little bit yesterday. But just kind of your thoughts on that. I mean, I do like that bracket. I do like the way that sets up. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, I like the look of it. Michigan State I haven't watched too much of them, but what I have watched from them, I think that would be like a good matchup for us. You know what I mean?
Right. I think it matched. Yeah, I think it's favorable. It's not a Florida matchup. So, yeah. But I like that bracket. Look, I take every bit of that right now as a path to San Antonio. I mean, so let's hypothetically say, take one of the 16. You win that game. I'm going to say Memphis in round 2. We beat them. Again, you can't take it for granted that we beat them all the way back in when we played them in the Maui Invitational. But, I mean, you're going to be favored. Got to get past that 8 or 9 seed, get to the second weekend, and then you're going to have a tough test. You're going to play either Clemson or Arizona. And that's going to be tough. If it's Clemson and Clemson beat Duke, and they're going to be just as close to Atlanta as we are. They're going to have a lot of fans.
I don't know if their fan base really travels, but
they'll show up for that.
Yeah, I have some friends that go to Clemson that are from Atlanta, and I know that
They'll be there.
they'll definitely be there for sure.
And everybody in the building will be pulling against us. So whatever teams are there,
Oh my gosh.
all one seeds, it doesn't matter that everybody pulls against the one seeds. So
Nobody wants to see us win.
but I think Atlanta, massive Auburn crowd. So we'll drown that out. It'll feel like an Auburn home game. So I'm not really worried about that. And then you move on, and I'm gonna say it's St. John's coming out of that bottom. So Auburn's path to the Elite Eight there. That would be the Elite Eight matchup, Auburn and St. John's. So I like it. I'm fine with it because if you flip over and look at where Florida lands as the 2 seed in the East against Duke, and I'm glad they're there. And this is not an easy bracket for Duke. Duke, the 1 seed, possibly playing UConn in the second round as the 8 or 9 seed there. That I don't care. I said that earlier. I know they're not having the year, but dadgummit, man. They're the 2-time defending national champions. And then thank God Yale's in the East. We'll have to see them again. But their possible second or their possible next round matchup would be, either Michigan or maybe Missouri. And then coming out of the bottom, there it would either be Texas Tech or Florida. That's a pretty rough bracket.
Yeah, I was looking at that and I thought the same thing.
I mean, you got Texas Tech and Florida battling it out. You're probably going to have Michigan and Duke battling it out on the top. And then if Duke moves on, they're going to have to play the winner of Texas Tech and Florida, and both of them are very good. So that's a little bit harder bracket. They've got Alabama in the Midwest. Let's kind of take a look at that. That would be Houston's bracket. Alabama is the 2 seed. Wisconsin is the 3. Kentucky the 4. So Maryland 5. Maryland beat Michigan tonight. So that was a big win. So, not overbearing for them, but they also have Kansas, and Kansas hasn't played well, but Kansas comes in as a number 7. That would possibly be a second round matchup for them if things kind of played out. So there's that bracket. And then the other bracket's the West, and that's right now Tennessee having the number 1 seed. The disadvantage for Tennessee is they got to go out west, and with Iowa State being number 2 and Purdue being number 3, that's going to go through some areas where it's not very accessible for their fans to make the trip. So they're the last number 1 seed.
Yeah, looking at that bracket, it's kind of just like
they got a tough matchup in round 2.
Oh yeah,
with BYU.
That's going to be a fun game to watch. I've loved watching BYU.
Yeah, they're a good basketball team.
They are. I've really enjoyed watching.
That 8-9 matchup, and ours won't be easy if it were to lay out. Now, again, we don't know that it's going to lay out like this. Not. But I mean, a number 8 seed Memphis in Lexington, that's not easy.
Yeah,
that's not easy. So anyway, that's a little bracket talk. I mean, this thing changes every week, but as of today, if it were to play out, I'd take it. I'm just going to be honest about it. I think that's a good draw. I don't think anybody's going to argue about that at all. So, a little update on the women's basketball team. First round, the SEC tournament going on right now. It's in the third quarter. Boy, talk about a rock fight. Florida up by 2, 29-27, with 9:13 to go in the third. That is Deadsville. This season is going to be one that the women are going to want to put behind them and try to figure out what the heck happened. That is a terrible score. 29-26. Nobody scoring any points in that game at all. So, Faith, let's shift over. Let's talk about some
We
football.
have one last final thing to add on the basketball side.
All right, add it.
And then we can move
Add
forward.
Add it.
Chad Baker Mazzara in the top 5 finalists of small forward of the year.
Absolutely.
That's so exciting for him.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
Oh yeah, and I know he's excited about that too. So
right.
I think that's exciting for him, and I think if people didn't know that, they should know. So anyway,
well, you just told them.
I know. I just thought that he should get a little recognition there on the Auburn Blitz.
Little 411 there from Faith.
Yeah, just
got to give you the information. That's why people watch.
That's
it. You knocked it out of the park. All right, let's look at some recruiting because that's where my bread's buttered, and it's going to be it's about go time for that. Now, look, I've been hearing all kind of different things, and right now I think it's set up. Big Cat's April the 5th. I don't expect anything really earth-shattering until then. Spring football, we'll start here in a few weeks. Big Cat, though, is a big deal. We normally get a couple of commitments, and I think Auburn, if they do what they always do, they'll get a couple commitments. Who will those commitments be? I don't think anybody can tell you right now. If anybody does tell you, they're probably lying to you. So I'm just going to go ahead and call everybody out there. They're just speculating. We can all speculate. We all get the same info. So I'm just telling you, if Hugh Freeze knows who it is, he's probably not telling anybody, and they're probably going to plan that. We saw it. Look, I'll give everybody an example. If I'll back up what I'm saying, so they're not saying, well, he's full of crap. Malcolm Simmons, when he made the trip to Big Cat, and it was one of those situations where I didn't know it. And look, I know Malcolm extremely well, have multiple conversations. He didn't tell us that, and then he ends up committing. And then, then the Perry Thompson deal, then everybody jumped in the pool. And so, yeah, I mean, they keep it close to the vest, and rightfully so. And it's a big weekend, and it's moved up, obviously. We heard Jason talk about that because of timing and the way, everybody takes their official visits and makes decisions. So, so I'm not going to dive into a lot of certainty on some of these prospects. Also, with spring football coming around the corner, all we keep hearing is Deuce Knight and Jackson Arnold talk. Look, nobody knows anything right now. Okay. Again, if somebody's telling you they have a beat on it, I mean, they've gotten out and done some player-only stuff. And, I've heard, from some players that how
it's
good.
So early.
You just don't know. But here you're going to get a lot of reps in spring. And I've been hearing people say, hey, look, I think Deuce Knight has a legit chance to be the quarterback. Well, no kidding. I mean, do you think he came over here and said, I'm just going to chill for a year? I mean, the guy, he's a 5-star quarterback.
High five quarterback.
And here's the deal. He's not – we're past the day and age of, hey, I'm going to come over here and sit. If he's ready to go, he's going to get a shot. If
goes somewhere else, if he's not going to work to get the shot,
right
here,
right. And again, I don't think we even know what that looks like until the end of the year. But it's exactly why we talked about it on this show. Why it's not a big deal when you don't go out and try to sign the highest rated quarterback out of high school this year, because you've already got 2 really good quarterbacks in your quarterback room. And let it play out. Jackson Arnold, and look, it should be a legit competition. It shouldn't be, we went out and got Jackson Arnold out of the transfer portal and we're going to play him come hell or high water. I think that's kind of what we did last year. And with Peyton Thorne coming back, I think we kind of felt like we were invested in this guy, and we're like, well, we've already paid him. We got to play him. And so, look, you paid both of these guys. You paid Deuce Knight and you paid Jackson Arnold. Only one of them can play. So they're going to battle it out. And if Deuce Knight beats Jackson Arnold out, so be it. That you want the best player to get the reps. You want the best player to be selected. Get away from, well, we went and got this guy in the portal. We got to ride with him, because that's over. I mean, you got two really, really good quarterbacks. Let them battle it out.
Why are you even paying somebody money out of high school to come and play if you're just going to play whoever you got out of the portal?
Right.
Because you paid them. Why are you paying somebody out of high school then?
Right. So
like,
I
don't get it.
Well, and again, it goes back to
who's going to fit in with the offense.
Right.
Because a lot of our offense coming back are vets and they've been here, but these quarterbacks haven't. So who's going to fit in with the offense? Who's going to fit in with the coaches?
Right.
And we've seen players not fit in with the offense and how that's worked out. So whoever,
again, it goes back to, Jared Curtis, this year's guy. I think a lot of noise has been around him. And, again, we talked about it. Why would you put a full court press on Jared Curtis and pay him a bunch of money to come and join a quarterback room that's already got two guys, and you don't know how that's going to play out next year? Again, if he wants to really come here and he wants to be the quarterback, that's fine. But this is more about roster management now, like the NFL. You're not going to go spend a boatload of money on three quarterbacks when you can only play one of them, and then go and be deficient in other key areas. That's how this is going to play out. So,
really, finally, right?
I mean,
somebody had to say it.
Well, there it is. And so that's kind of how it all plays out. So, I'm a big in-state guy. I mean, we talk about, and we've got plenty of time to talk about the Zion Elys of the world and the Tristan Keys of the world and some other guys that Auburn, is really high on and recruiting. Emmanuel Iheanacho, the Maryland player, the big offensive tackle. I mean, we're going to have plenty of time to talk about all that, but where I like to go, and I like to talk about our Alabama kids. And right now, according to 24/7, Sadarian Morgan is the number one player in this 2026 class. I'm excited about the future for Sadarian, and I think it's a race between Auburn and Alabama. Now, he set a official visit for Colorado last week, and he's narrowed it down to 5 schools, and Auburn and Alabama both are in that mix. I think ultimately he could go anywhere in the country. I think everybody wants him, but I think it ends up being an Auburn and Alabama race, Faith, when it comes down to the end. You and I are going to have many opportunities this year to talk to Sadarian. He's a hop, skip, and the jump right up the road from where I am right here. So I'm going to see Sadarian a bunch. You're going to be with me. You're going to be able to interview Sadarian and talk to him. His recruiting will be fluid. He's going to take all his visits, but he's the real deal. Nobody knows and covers Sadarian Morgan more than I do. Okay. I see him every week in football season. I watched him in basketball all year. I watched this kid grow up. I watched him in middle school, 7th and 8th grade. And when he was about a half a body taller than everybody else running around, I'm like, good Lord. This guy's
going to be a star.
There's no doubt.
And a big high five, like you said earlier.
That was a big high five, a high 5 star. He's I think he will get the 5th star. Right now he's a 4-star guy on 24/7, but he's a game changer. I think he's poised to have a phenomenal senior season here at Benjamin Russell. So we'll be covering him throughout the fall, Faith. We've got some pretty good access to Sadarian. We'll be covering him. The number 2 player in the 26 class is Anthony Jones, Tank Jones down at St. Paul's. Phenomenal edge rusher. We'll talk more about him. You and I saw Landon Duckworth up close and personal. He has moved up to the number 3 player in the 26 class. Tremendous player from Jackson High School. You were blown away. We were on the sideline for that game in the state championship in Birmingham, and he's got everything that you want. And so, not to diminish, his ability, because obviously he's really talented, but there's you a guy that you could go after and feel real good about adding to this quarterback room. I don't know what his NIL value would be, but you want to go out and get a quarterback. Landon Duckworth from here in the state of Alabama at Jackson High School, to me, would be a great opportunity for Auburn to go out and get.
Yeah, I think so too. But I mean, I was blown away with how he played. I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, I mean, he's again, that team was loaded. A ton of great players on that team. Really, I mean, they had they played up and down classification. Just one of the better teams overall in the state last year, and they won the state championship with ease. Going back and looking at the rest of the top 10 here in the state of Alabama, Vodney Cleveland played on that defensive line at Parker High School, and
he was a big boy too.
Oh, absolutely. 6'3", 6'4", 200. Right at 300 pounds.
Compared to all those other little kids.
Right.
I was like, oh my gosh.
So Vodney Cleveland's a guy that, obviously Auburn is going to push for. If you look at, his teammate that Auburn signed this past year off the defensive line, one of the better ones that we've seen in the class that Auburn got this past year. So, Vodney Cleveland, tremendous player. Definitely going to keep an eye on him. He shot up from number 9 to number 4 in 24/7. Another kid that we're going to talk about, and then we'll kind of wrap this thing up. Just wanted to hit on some of these guys. Jaquez Wilkes, we talked about him a little bit earlier, I think maybe yesterday, the kid from Wadley. He's listed as an edge rusher, but he plays everything because he's at a small high school. But he is a dominant force, 6'4", 220 pounds. In that championship game, he looked like, the middle school kid playing with all the third graders. And it's the guy you draft first in the playground. And, they knew he was about to run to a certain spot, but he just drug them 10 yards down the field.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
So anyway, that's some of the guys that we'll talk about. Obviously, Hezekiah Harrison and JaMichael Garrett are guys that, are part of that class for Auburn already. And, two really, really good players. And JaMichael Garrett transferred from Gulf Shores to Auburn High School. So he'll be right up the road here, and we'll get to see him a lot. So, that's it really kind of in a nutshell. Some of the top guys here in the state of Alabama that we'll be covering, not just through Auburn Blitz, but through the HSA network, Faith. So we're excited about that for sure.
Yes, we are. A lot to come, and it's fun being able to cover, the high school kids in Alabama and be able to give all of y'all the details.
No doubt.
On the Auburn.
Give you the inside scoop there. Building off that class, again, there's a lot of connections there. Vodney Cleveland, we talked about from Parker, his teammate, Jordan Crawford, was so dominant. He's probably the best defensive lineman that I've ever watched in high school in the state of Alabama. And that's a mouthful, but Vodney Cleveland will be the guy on that Parker defensive line now. And with Jordan Crawford being at Auburn, you got to like the opportunity to maybe land him in that 26 class. So we'll kind of watch how that plays out. But, Auburn loaded up on the defensive side of the football this past year with Jared Smith and Malik Autry and Antonio Coleman and those type guys. But you want to keep reloading on that defensive line. And then obviously we want to go and get us some really big-time offensive linemen as well. So, all right, that's a little bit of a scoop there as we get ready to head into football. We're excited about it, and we'll be giving you more coverage on that.
More on it on Friday at Bunkers with
Exciting.
Malcolm Simmons.
Malcolm Simmons, and then Jason Caldwell will be with us. So we're excited about that, and we're also excited about Sure Shot. And I did it again, Faith. It's just bound and determined to hit the wrong logo.
You've been doing so well, too.
And I have been on a good streak, but I screwed that one up. I'll just go ahead and admit it. Say I admit it when I'm wrong, and I screw up. Sure Shot, firearms, apparel, hunting, turkey season right around the corner. They sell and trade new and used firearms. Give them a call, 256-329-0080. Great line of shotguns, rifles, handguns, whatever it is that you need. Hey, for all you women out there, and you're looking for that personal protection, you want to get a firearm, you want to get trained up. They have classes they can put you in to train you on how to properly handle a handgun, and not just women, for you men too that don't have a pistol or some type of protection out there. Make sure you call on Sure Shot. They'll hook you up, take care of you. Very, very good people, and we're excited that they're part of what we do here on the Auburn Blitz podcast. We're also excited about Oliver Ross, and I'm about ready to go to a function where Oliver Ross is bartending, Faith. They do a great job, parties, get-togethers, big major events like Buckmasters. They can handle 20, 30,000 people down to 50. But you want to hire them because they have licensed and insured and trained bartenders. So they're going to take care of you, and they're going to make sure your party is a hit. We need to find one of those. Need to get a feed on where Oliver Ross is going to be, so we can go crash that party, right?
Go show up unannounced.
We don't even have to be invited. We'll just show up. So that's what we do here. That's how we roll. All right. Well, again, good stuff. We'll be back with everybody on Friday from Bunkers. You and I'll be doing a double doozy Friday. We'll be getting the morning started, and we'll be reminding everybody about that. And then we'll be back at noon for the show. And we'll have Jason Caldwell, Malcolm Simmons there. May have somebody else. Who knows? Who knows is going to show up?
If anyone wants to show up and say hi,
we'll definitely want to say, hey, I may even bring some hats.
There you go.
They give some hats away at Bunkers. So what are you doing? Okay. There you go. I was like, what did she do?
I just wanted to show everybody what they can have.
Showing off the hat. So, yep. What they can have the blue one, or they can have, show them, Faith, the gray one. That's right. We'll let you make the choice. So, there you go. Which one's your favorite? Which one's your favorite? One's your favorite?
Well, today this matches my.
I was gonna say kind of like the gray.
It matches my gray.
There you go.
So I'm gonna go.
Your hat game is second to none. Second to none.
Thank you.
Everybody out there knows that the hat game is top notch. So
thanks, guys.
as she reaches up there and tries to decide which hat she's gonna pull out next. So
yeah, I like to have it there. Accessible.
Good choice, though. The gray. You chose well.
Thank you. I try.
All right, everybody. Have a great day. Get it started out there. Go be good. Go be great. And we will see you tomorrow for another edition of the Auburn Blitz podcast. And we'll see you at Bunker. So I hope everybody has a great day and a big old War Eagle.
War Eagle.